I love these casual videos, you know guys, ones that don't require any fancy editing for our boys. So this is the Leaf 2. This is the Leaf 2 in black. You'll see that I'm just kidding, this is an EREADER. Doesn't it look exactly like it? Here, watch this, 1 second. We're gonna put this into the frame. That looks extremely close. I mean, the bezels and the thickness of the side ledger is almost identical, and this came out first, just saying. So this is the black leaf and this is the white leaf. Now this is a monumentous occasion for us, and if you're not sure as to why, stay tuned. This is the black one with a flush screen and bezel. This one is the white color with a sunken screen and bezel. Why is that amazing? And that is because this is the first time in the history of ebook readers that a single unit model has come up with not just 2 color variants, but 2 body constructions. We've seen color variants dating back all the way to the PRS by Sony, and of course Pocketbook is the biggest example of color differences. They do things like space gray and spicy copper and all that stuff. This is the first time this has ever happened. Now why is this important? Because you have a choice. You have a choice in the actual screen construction. This is amazing. It's completely honest. Now, there's a couple things you need to know. This is a flush screen, of course, but these buttons are further sunken into the bezel. These ones pop out like there's no tomorrow, and they're actually different pieces of plastic. They're triangular and they're raised, and they're also kind of tapered. They taper off towards the ends here as it slowly meshes down into the actual bezel, whereas these ones peak up kind of like a pyramid. So the buttons themselves are actually different. We're going to check 3 things. We're going to do an overall quality test, we're going to do a glow light test, and then we're going to do a glare test to see which one of these not so much is better, it's just how are they different in the real world. This is the exact same book on both of these units. Exact same page, font, everything. First, we're going to fix some things on these. You have to drop down from the top on both of these right here and go over to the e-ink center. We have 30 dark color enhancement and light color filter 10. So that's all well and good. Let's drop down again and make sure the glow lights are both off on both of these. So they're off on the left and off on the right. Next is the in-app contrast, watermark bleaching, sharpen, dark color enhancement, all to the 0 range. Click out in the middle. Finally, we're going to refresh the screen on both of these. We can use the little ball right here. Click on refresh. Click on refresh. That's it. That's how they're going to look out of the gates. I will tell you, just looking at this, that looks better. That looks much better. I will say that this is whiter on the background. You can see that right there compared to that. This is actually a whiter background screen than this one. It must be something to do with the actual piece of glass refracting the light, but this looks far more crisp than that does. The biggest possible font, so we can get some curves, we can get some good black spaces. These blacks look more faded than these ones. Just look at this, the same screen here. That looks way richer than that does. The round characters look pretty much identical because the EPD, the actual screen itself, is the exact same. So in that regard, they're identical. But contrast-wise, we're seeing a pretty distinct difference. Although that is a whiter background, these blackers are more black. We'll swipe the page. Again, this is the same book and everything like that. Ghosting's not going to be any different because, again, the actual display is the exact same. That looks just noticeably different. That looks way darker, way more black. Comes with the territory because the white is less white, but look at that. There is no doubt. There is no doubt. Look at that. That just looks so much better. The blackers are more rich. It's more exposed because it actually is. If you're not sure why this is because when you put a piece of glass on top, you're also putting a protective layer on top. You're putting physically more things on top of your unit than this one. It would be as if you were to take this and put stuff on top like that. Obviously, this is an exaggerated example, but it is true to some degree. The EPD is a thin layer that has the actual screen information on it. And this has very few things in front of it, whereas this has more things. If we're talking about rigidity and safety, the glass is the way you want to go. It aids to the body construction. It aids to the overall rigidity to it. It's not as dangerously exposed so that if you drop something on it, it's going to break the screen. Granted, this isn't an exposed screen. There is a layer on top of it, but looking at this, honestly, that is much nicer. We'll look at a PDF really quick because it has a lot of solid black colors as well. You can see embolden, sharpen image, watermark, everything is the exact same. Formatting is the exact same. Everything's identical. Tap out of that. Click on both. Refresh both like this. Click on the refresh. And now we can see that that black is significantly darker, whereas this is coming across super gray compared to that. This is far more rich. Everything on here compared to this, if we're nitpicking, which is our job, looks fuzzy. Again, in and of itself, it's fantastic, but compared to someone that shares the exact same release, make, and model, that's looking nicer. Now for the glare test. Let's keep this exactly center, and we're going to put a light on the situation here. Okay, that's just full illumination, but let's move it a little bit closer and see what happens. You'll notice something that happens right off the bat. The glass screen actually diffuses the glare much better. You can see it ends up being a rounded square. I have this handheld light here, but here you almost see the reflection of it. Look at that. You actually can make out almost a mirror finish. Whereas this one softens it. It's almost like a floodlight. That's very interesting. I would have thought it would be the other way around, to be honest. For what this is, it's a fairly shiny top coat layer. Because again, they don't leave the screen exposed. That would be silly. They actually put a factory sealant layer of protective coating on here. And you can see that this one's actually doing a worse job at breaking down the light, leaving you with an actual square, versus this one that really diffuses the whole situation. In terms of glare, the glass is actually doing better. We have heard some people say that the glow light is a little bit inconsistent on the glass unit, so let's check it out. These are the exact same intensities with both the warm light and the cool light turned on to full. So far, with my naked eye, I'm not seeing anything drastically different. Let's change the color up a little bit and go blue. So looking at it right now, yes, they both look pretty much the exact same. They both look blue. I would say the light is shining through a little bit more here. It's a little bit more bright and exposed, whereas this, again, the glass just kind of breaks up that light. Let's look at the warm on both of these and see how that turns over. Again, just more bright in the dead white space here. Not necessarily overexposed. It is more exposed, but not overexposed to the point where you have bleed or tearing or anything like that. And let's choose a link mode kind of stone white here. Link that up right around there. I would say that the glow light on the glass one really just softens it and spreads it out a little bit better. A better disbursement of the light. The light on the exposed screen does have over intensity on some of the corners and some of the sides. You will see right there. But it looks more pure white. And this looks more on the darker, grayer side. It's kind of hit and miss with both of these guys. Here's the deal, guys. The black unit has a flush screen and bezel. It actually breaks up the glare a lot better than I thought, and it overall has a better glow light, but it's darker and the blacks aren't as rich. This has an exposed screen for the most part. The glare is actually worse, which would have been the opposite of what I thought. The glow light is a little bit on the bright side, but the contrast is much nicer and the blacks are blacker, although the white space is whiter on the black one. It really is just a complete tie, we would say. It's not like you're gonna buy both of these. That's just the reality. You're not gonna buy one of these and one of these just to get different feels on both. I mean, I'm sure you could if you'd like to. But to be honest, they're just different. And this is everyone asking us to do a comparison. These are not anywhere near night and day differences. These are the same unit. if you're nitpicking, if we're trying to draw parallels and draw differences and comparisons, then yes, they are different in their own regard. They display and produce a different experience than each other. But on the surface level, they're both Leaf 2s. They both have Google Play. They both have everything the exact same. The processors are the same. The placement of the speakers and everything are the same. In terms of the body construction, the only differences are those physical buttons. And even then, it's not anything that's going to be a 180 comparison. They're really just the same thing. But I would say that the better choice would be this one. It just looks not even slightly different. It does look pretty different. In terms of the blacks, in terms of the actual exposure, this one looks better. There's a lot of pluses for this, but I would say that you're not drawing on this. You don't need the protection of a piece of glass. In fact, it can be argued that plastic screens with a resin coat are better for note-taking. So I would say that the white is actually looks nicer, it feels better, it has a nice soft touch, the colors are better, the contrast is better, the buttons are actually nicer, and the screen looks better. Not to bash the black one, but I can see why some people really like the sunken screen and bezel because there's a ton of benefits. This is the comparison, guys. For GoodyReader.com, this is Peter.